Let's talk about how to nail that interview. And we are going to go over 30 writer interview questions that you need to know because interviews are nerve-wracking, and I want you to stay cool and familiarize yourself with the questions ahead of time. It's okay to be nervous before an interview for a writing job, and in fact, it's normal. I get nervous too, but let's make the best of your wound up energy. And instead of fretting, let's boost your confidence and prepare adequately. Okay, so we are going to go over 30 interview questions that may come up during an interview with an agency, a head of content, a recruiter, and even sometimes in your freelance discovery calls with just, one-off clients. So let's dive in. In most writer interviews, you won't be asked all of these questions. That would be insane, but it's good to be prepared. And I'll also, when we go over these questions, I'll give you an explanation as to why these questions are being asked, so you have more insight before responding with the perfect answer. In fact, we go over the answers to these questions in a separate video because it's so important that you understand the thought process about why they're asking you these questions in the first place. Question number 1, what experience do you have that is similar to this project or role? Really common one. While you may get writer interview questions about your experience overall, clients and recruiters and content managers will want to know how experienced you are with the projects they need. Question number 2, how are you different from other writers? And really, this question should say, how are you better than other writers? But the interviewer may not want to ask you that straight out. So always think about what the interviewer is looking for, as long as it's indeed authentic to you. Number 3, what are your strengths? Aside from writing skill strengths, the person interviewing you may be open to hearing about your strengths related to how you work with others, how fast you turn in projects, other non-writing things. Question number 4, what are your weaknesses? A dreaded interview question that always needs to be spun into something positive. This question can help the interviewer gauge your honesty and your integrity and your willingness to improve. Company culture is very important for many businesses. They want to make sure the writer that they hire is someone they actually will want to work with. Question number 5, why are you interested in this position or project? Okay, so this writer interview question is super common as well, and you could answer this question at face value, but the interviewer may also want an indication that you know the ins and outs of the position or the company, or at least you've read the job description. Question number 6, what has made your work successful? This interview question helps someone understand if you've had successful writing work in the past, but also if you understand why your work was successful. And this would mean that you probably can use those same strategies in the work that you might be doing for them. So for example, if you're writing SEO blogs, you should have a clear understanding how and why a certain piece will or will not rank well on search engines. Question number 7, how do you measure success in your work? Not to be confused with interview question number 6. This is best answered with specifics. So the interviewer wants to gauge your ability to analyze the success of your work. That way they know you understand how to improve your writing. Question number 8, what skills does a strong writer possess? While this interview question asks about a writer in general, they really want to know if you also possess the same qualities. It's okay if you don't possess all of the qualities, as long as you have a willingness to learn and improve. Question number 9, how do you stay up to date with writing practices? So whether you're a copywriter, SEO writer, authority writer, or something else, most clients and people who hire you want to know that your tactics are up to date and you're using the current best practices. What writer do you idolize and why? You could also be asked, what marketing professional or industry leader do you idolize? Just recognize that the main reason they ask this question is to see if you are constantly engaging with and learning from other people in the industry. In this question, they actually ask more often than you would think. So you really want to have an understanding of what influencers are in this industry, as well as trends and stuff like that. They want to know that you are active in the writing community or the marketing community or the professional community. Say you're like a health writer with a license, they want to make sure you kind of know the key players in your own field. Number 11, what books on writing have you read and which was the most helpful? This one I've been asked several times, so I actually keep a list of books that I've read on my, interview notes. Nowadays, you could probably also get away with talking about writing training podcasts, things like that, aside from just books or videos on YouTube. Question number 12, why do you think you are a good fit for our company? Very common question for any type of interview, right? So yes, what you say is important, but your response also helps the interviewer gauge if you did your homework. So you should do your homework before interviewing with a company. While you won't have a lot of insight on the company's inner workings, the interviewers like to hear specifics in your answer. So try to memorize things you've seen on the website or whatever material they sent to you. Question number 13, how do you work best? So with this question, the interviewer is trying to understand your ability to work on a team and on your own, because most of the time you need to do both, especially if you work for medium to large size companies and teams. Question number 14, who do you follow in the industry? So similar to some of the previous questions we talked about, but the interviewer may want to know what industry leaders and brands you follow. This may be actual writers or other brands like SEO, SEM companies, or national organizations. Question number 15, what are some of your favorite ad campaigns, books, etc.? So the specifics of this question will depend on your writing niche. So for copywriters, think about your favorite ad campaigns of all time. For fiction ghostwriters, think about your favorite fictional books. The interviewer probably wants to know why you appreciate these pieces and what insight you pull from them and use in your own work. Question number 16, what is your ideal work environment? So when you're hired by a company or a client, they want to make sure the way you work fits into what they already do. And you can definitely tell them some of your ideals, but emphasize your willingness to adapt. Question number 17, what information do you need to know before starting a project? So not only does the interviewer need to know what you need, but they need to see that you understand what you need. Nothing gives away an inexperienced writer more than not knowing what you need to do the work. Question number 18, what are your turnaround times? When hiring a writer, clients and interviewers need to know that a new writer is efficient enough. Because in most cases, if two writers offer similar skills and rates, but one is drastically faster, they will hire the faster writer. Because after all, time is money. So knowing your personal turnaround times is extremely important. Question number 19, can you explain your writing process from start to finish? So this information is not only helpful to understand how you work, but to also make sure you know what you're doing, because inexperienced writers may not be able to fully describe how the process works, which is a red flag for interviewers and potential clients. Question number 20, what is your editing process? People who hire you want to know that the editing process will be as painless as possible. If they have to handhold you through edits or you aren't good at getting them done, it will cause a lot of wasted time and effort. So those with a clear and seemingly easy editing process will definitely earn extra points. Question 21, how do you find credible information? This is especially important for authority writers, like in the health, medical, wellness realm. And if you have, some sort of certification, things that need that specialty knowledge and background. You obviously need to know the difference between high quality and poor quality information, high quality, poor quality research. So outside of the health and medical writing world, interviewers ask this question to make sure you can use your head when presented with information. So even SEO writers need to get their information from trusted sources, even if it's not like in the health and medical field. But again, the answer to this will be highly dependent on your niche or specialty. Question number 2, how do you know how to resonate with the right audience. So regardless of what kind of writing job this interview is for, every writer has a target audience, and being able to answer this writer interview question intelligently really puts you ahead of the rest. It shows you are well-versed in tactics that work and that you are constantly tailoring your writing to your reader. Question number 23, how much work are you able to take on at one time? While you should never overload yourself to the point of burnout, it's very appealing to an interviewer or a client if you can handle more work than the average writer. In fact, taking on a bigger workload can be a key determinant of landing the job. But again, you have to be honest with yourself on what you can actually handle. So think about this question ahead of time. Question 24, what writing training, education, or certifications do you have? Not all writing specialties require certifications or college degrees, but many clients and managers find comfort if someone has more of a structured education. And as you become more experienced, you may get away with letting your writing track record do the talking versus if you've had structured training or have a bachelor's or in some kind of writing or English. Question 25, how do you ensure your work is error-free? Okay, so if someone asks you this question during an interview, it's because they want to make sure your work is spotless, and it should be as a professional writer, right? They either have dealt with lazy writers or they want to avoid having to proofread a writer's work in full, especially since they're paying a professional. Question number 26, how do you juggle simultaneous projects? So here, the interviewer wants to know that multiple projects won't lessen the quality of your writing, especially when working with clients on an ongoing basis. You'll likely get assigned the next project before you finish the previous one. They need to know you can stay organized. Question number 27, how do you incorporate feedback into your work? Even if you are an amazing and experienced writer, there will be feedback. Many clients and managers don't want to deal with a writer who pushes back on their feedback all the time. In the end, the work is most likely the property of the company, so the client does have the final say. And now that's not to say you can't explain your rationale or why you disagree with their feedback, but you don't want the feedback phase to become an argument or a discussion that takes forever to resolve. Question 28, what happens if you don't agree with certain feedback? To piggyback off the last question, the interviewer is really trying to steer clear of any writer who will be a pain in the neck to work with. So with the right answer, you can really impress the interviewer with this one. How do you capture a brand's tone or voice in your writing? So regardless of what kind of writing you do, your work will most likely have to mesh well with all the existing company work. So being able to eloquently explain your process will signal to the interviewer that you know what you're doing. Question number 30, how do you keep a reader engaged with your writing? So whether you're writing a 5-word banner ad or a 200-page white paper, you have to keep the writing engaging from start to finish. Because after all, the client or interviewer wants to know that the work you do is effective and something they can use for their audience. Okay, so your strategy behind these writer interview questions. I know in the moment you're nervous and on edge, and it can be really hard to think through your answers so that they touch on all the right points. However, just try your best to understand why the interviewer is asking those questions. And that's why I created this video, because first and foremost, it's so important that you understand why they're asking these questions, because then you can answer them correctly, okay? So sometimes answering the questions in a way that resonates with the interviewer is more important than the content of what you say in your answer. So I hope this list of writer interview questions helps prepare you for your next interview. Good luck.